Hi, my name is Steve Bruno. I'm an applications engineer here at Sensible Technologies, and I'll be demoing a molding workflow with Freeform Modeling Plus. So right here we have a model in Freeform Modeling Plus, and I've turned on our parting line colors so that we can see where the parting line will be and if there's going to be any draft issues. You can see the little extra blue spots on the nose and behind the teeth. And right there I'm using the fixed draft, giving it an angle so that when the model is actually created into a mold, there won't be any issues with the draft, and it will come out of the mold nice and easy. So I'm just going around with my smooth tool to smooth out some areas around the parting edge so that it is nice and transitioned. So at this point I'm taking the parting line that I created from the tool in the molding tool window, and I'm offsetting a three-dimensional curve to the inside and to the outside of the parting line. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going to go ahead and set up right here some curve networks so I can create some patches using the parting line as a guide. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to create this patch and then use it to create clay so that I can overlay a complex parting surface over that clay and then make a complex mold for the entire part. So as you can see, I'm making these individual patches using the curve networks that I set up. And from here in my object window, and I'm just kind of organizing my lists, and I can take all of these individual patches, and what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to stitch them all into one patch. So now I'm exporting it out as one binary STL mesh, and then from there I can go ahead and take that same exact mesh that I just exported and import it right back in. And you can see on the Dynabar I have my import model options, and what I want to do is I want to import this STL mesh and thicken it to plane, so it gives it a thickness of clay right there, you can see, and I'm just smoothing it out real quick just to give it a better transition. So at this point, I'm bringing up a sketch plane, and I want to go ahead and draw a square in two-dimensional space and then intersect that plane with the complex piece of clay. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire cut a thickness of that box so I can get a basic shape and platform for the insert block that I'll be creating shortly. So now I have one piece of clay, and I've brought up another sketch plane, and I'm tracing around the complex geometry of that piece of the clay, and I'm going to go ahead and offset that sketch as well to get the same shape but make it a little larger. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get rid of that extra sketch at the top where there's intersecting pieces, so I'm just trimming those edges really quickly, and then I'm just going to fill it or round off those edges so we get a better transitionary sketch. Now what I want to do is I want to project these sketches onto the clay and make them into three-dimensional curves. So I'll get rid of the sketch plane, and now I have my two curves just joining a few pieces of the curve, so it's one curve for each piece. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw some more curve networks that connect the two different curves, and I'm going to take these curve networks and make them tangent to both pieces of the clay, so that when I go ahead and start shaping these pieces with clay, the transitions between the top and the bottom will be nice and smooth. So you can see those little red discs come up. That allows you to not only see the tangency, but you can actually also feel the tangency with our haptic device. So now I want to go ahead and use this tool called Shape Clay, and I'm using these boundaries, 4 curves each, and I'm shaping the clay in between the two parts, so I get that nice transition slope between the two pieces of clay. The reason I'm doing this is because in the manufacturing process to create this complex parting surface, it will be a lot easier for a large ball cutter to simply mill this piece out with a more vague surface than to have that real sharp edge that you saw before. So now I have this much more complex, much more transitionary piece. I just smoothed it out real quick just to make the transitions that much better. And I'm bringing up a new sketch plane, drawing another square, and projected it to the clay. And what I'm doing now is I'm adding points to each of these lines. The reason I'm doing that is the more points there are, the more data points there are for the patch that I just created to fit to. So the patch will fit a lot better to that piece of clay. So what I did is I created essentially a parting surface now for this piece of clay. and I'm using clay to patch intersection to get a new parting line. It's going to be very similar to the initial parting line that I created, but since it is a little different, I want to make sure it's perfectly accurate, so I just create a new parting line. And like I said, it's very similar, but it's a lot more accurate than the first one that I was using as a guide. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and use the Fix Draft tool again, since like I said, the parting line is a little different. So I'm going to fix the draft one more time, just like as a double check, make sure it's fit perfectly to the clay. And I just want to go ahead and use my smooth tool here and just get rid of some of the roughness on the parting edge where the clamshell is actually going to come together to make that mold. So at this point, now I want to start using more of the molding tools that come with Freeform Modeling Plus. And after I'm done smoothing that out, I'm going to turn back my parting line, or my parting surface, and I'm going to go down to the molding tools, and I want to make that face a part. So I use that Make Part tool, and what I'm doing now is setting up the boundaries for the actual insert blocks, and I need to make sure that they're inside all the extents of the parting surface, because I'm going to be trimming that parting surface as you see right there. I also trimmed the inside where the head is and deleted that piece out because that's where the void's going to be. And now I'm creating these two meshes, one on either side for the two different core cavities. And what I want to do now is I want to draw some curves, make sure that fit curve is selected on the Dynabar, and I'm setting up a network where I can start creating some manual patches. So you can see I'm going and selecting each of these curves singularly and creating those green patches, which are connected to the parting surface at that edge, as you can see around the edge of where the actual void is. And now I have that one parting surface and the void for that one side. Now I'm doing the same thing and just turning on the other mesh cavity and turning on the other insert block. This is all organized on our object window. You can go through and turn different pieces on and off very easily. So now I already did the back of the head, and now I'm going to do the front of the head. And since the front of the head has a lot more detail than the back of the head, I'm going to have to probably draw a lot more curves to get the detail, to maintain that detail in the face for that insert block for the mold cavity. Now I'm going to draw, like I said, a few more curve networks. For the sake of the demo, I'm not going to do that many because it's kind of monotonous. But if you do want to make something that's very accurate, you'd probably even want to double or even triple the amount that I'm doing here. But just like I said, for the sake of showing you how it works, I'm just going to do a few to get a basic representation of this face. You can do it this way by creating these NURBS patches and exporting the whole piece as one, or since it is a mesh already, as long as the clay resolution was very high when you were creating it. If it wasn't, you could just bump up that resolution anyways. As long as you have a decent resolution clay piece before you make the mesh, you can just export this orange mesh the way it is as an STL. And when you import the STL cavity and the IGES or step NURBS file parting surface, you can import both of those as separate files into a CAM program for milling, and they will intersect perfectly anyways. So it's up to you if you want to have two different files or if you want to just make it all one file. What I'm doing here is I am going to make it all one file so that it can be imported as one piece. But depending, like I said, depending on the detail that you work with here, I have pretty low detail because I don't have that many patches. But because I'm working this as a simple demo, I just want to show you the concept and not necessarily get too detailed. Just make it look good enough so you can understand the concept that I'm working with. So I've created these patches, and now I'm stitching them together so that I can get one piece and then export each of these insert blocks as its own NURBS file. And then, like I said, these NURBS files can then be used as tooling for creating the actual insert block mold cavities for that piece. So right here, I'm just showing the interoperability that's possible with these pieces. I created these pieces in Freeform Modeling Plus. They're exportable as NURBS, and as you can see here, I just open up Rhino and I'm importing the IGES data just to show you the example that it is readable by other conventional programs. So right here, I'll just show you the two insert blocks, and there you go. So it came up pretty good, and thanks for watching.